Shalom, everybody. We are reading from Parsha
Shalom.
Vayyigash. Vayyigash. This is the part of the Joseph story, I think, where Judah steps forward and kind of makes a defense for Benjamin.
Right.
And if anyone wants to raise a hand or annotate on the screen, here's how you do it. Who would like to read first? Go ahead, Eileen.
Vayyish Gam.
Vayyigash.
Vayyigash Elav
Elav.
Yehuda Vayomer bin Adonai
Adoni.
Adoni Yidever Na Adben Gach
Avdecha.
Avechat
Think of and then decha.
Avdeha
Right. Avdecha.
Deha.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The bear
Here it's davar.
Davar. Okay. Um, Ben 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 Ha Se
Is this a kamatz katan? It's a closed, unstressed syllable.
Yes.
So this is from the
Yes.
word ozen, like oznaim, ears. Be'ozne,
Oh, Bet Osne. Okay.
be'ozne,
Uh, Adoni
adoni.
Ve Al
Ve'al.
Ve Al uh, Yi Yi Har
Yichar.
Yihar uh, Abeja
Apecha.
Abeja um, Avedeja
Be'avdecha.
Deja Avdeja Ki Komeha
Chamocha.
Kamoja Hiparo.
Kefaro. Very good. Uh, Let me read through one time. Everyone follow along, please. You can read aloud. Just be sure you're on mute. Vayyigash elav Yehuda. Vayomer bi Adoni yedaberna avdecha davar be'oznei Adoni. Ve'al yichar apecha be'avdecha. Ki chamocha kefaro. All right, so here's where the name of the Torah portion comes from. First significant word, Vayyigash. It doesn't have all three of its root letters visible. Anybody know what the root is? We see the gimel. We see the shin. What's missing?
Vav in the middle. Gimel Vav Shin.
Gimel vav shin. If there were a vav in the middle, then we should expect some remnant of it, even if it's like
Okay.
a U sound or a kamatz katan.
I think there's a noon missing.
Simulated noon.
Okay, so this strong dagesh right here is like the best indicator that there's probably a missing noon. And in fact, it is. It's from Nagash, to approach. Vayyigash, and he approached, he came near. Who did? Yehuda. There's our subject. Elav, unto him. In context, does anybody know to whom he is approaching?
Joseph.
To Joseph, that he thinks is second in command of the entire world, an Egyptian man that is like you, like Pharaoh. You are basically like Pharaoh. Absolutely. He doesn't realize it's Joseph yet. Vayomer, and he, Judah, said, here's where the quote starts. So there's going to be a bit of a pause here. Bi Adoni Yedaberna ba'avdecha davar ba'oznei Adoni. Okay, that's a lot. And let's start with the simple parts first. Yedaberna avdecha. Who in context is avdecha? We see the cha on the end, yours.
Judah.
The brothers.
It's Judah. He's referring to himself in the third person. He's referring to himself as your Mr. Joseph, that I don't know it's really you, your servant.
Right. He's saying, I pray, let your servant speak
Right.
a
Third
word
person.
in the ears.
So because it's third person, that's why we see the yod on the verb. Yod is third person. He will speak. He who? Your servant. I'm referring to myself, but I'm being super polite because I know you can put me to death, and I'm trying to be cordial here. Now what is your servant going to speak? Davar, a word. Be'oznei, in or into the ears of Adoni. Now, it's kind of funny to me that it doesn't say into his servant's Lord. Right? Here he refers to himself in the third person. But here, with the suffix, he refers to the first person. Okay, cool. My Lord, Adoni. Now the hard part. B. If you did not see this in context, how would you define the word be?
Would it be the word in?
Yeah, it would be the word in, at, with a suffix on it that means me.
Yeah.
Be, in me. But that's not what's happening here. The translator decided to translate it as, oh, what? What is going on here? Okay, so the theory goes that this probably comes from Bri, which is the root in Aramaic from which Hebrew gets the word Baya. Okay, does anyone know what a Baya is?
Problem?
A problem. Now, this is not helping my case much, but it is linguistically related. The root ba'a has to do with asking. So how do we go from ba'i to baya, meaning problem? I'm afraid I don't have a good solution for that, but ba'i is probably the original from which this word be comes, where we're losing the feeble, I don't want to call it feeble guttural. You're basically losing the value of that guttural. So it's seeking, oh my Lord, let your servant speak a word into the ears of my Lord. You remember the context right here, don't you? They got found out with a whole bunch. They got caught red-handed, as it were, with stealing the goblet that Joseph says he uses for divination, and it happened to be in Benjamin's sack. And everybody's got their, crestfallen. Everybody's crestfallen because Benjamin is the special child that everyone's supposed to be keeping safe. And now he's going to either die or become a slave to Pharaoh, or to this guy, second in command. So he's trying to explain, Judah's trying to explain what's going on here. Ve'al yichal apecha. Okay, let's start with the easy part. What is af?
Nose.
Nose.
Your nose flared up in anger.
Right, exactly. So apparently the nose is figurative for anger. Now a harder question. What is the root of the word af? Anyone? Go with what Tim said earlier. When there's a strong dagesh, first thing you should assume is
A noon, a missing noon.
there it is.
Wow.
Anf. But it assimilates in, so it shows up as af instead of anf. But in suffixed forms, the dagesh shows up. Now this is I just want to give a caveat here. Suppose you see the word ha. It has the exact same form. So you should assume there's a missing noon, right? Well, turns out missing noon is pretty rare. Most of the time, it's a reduplicated consonant, like this one here. Ein mem mem. Ha. But this one is not aleph pei pei. The al yichal. This word al is a negative word, but it's not low. It's al. The difference is between not and don't. Al, don't, yichal. Now, this one's going to be a little hard to figure out. Well, except for the fact that there's a translation right there. We've got a yod, yiktol yod, which means he. And the root is chet resh. Something. Something.
You?
Yeah, probably. Chet resh yod, which we know better as hara, to blaze. Now, this is a shortened form of the word, a shortened form that we would often see in a Vayyigash, or wait a second, there's an al in front. What kind of verbs come after al?
Commandments.
Jussives.
Jussives.
Jussives do. What is jussive? It's a fancy word.
Like your trust.
Say it again.
Command.
Okay. It's like a third
Imperative.
person. It's like a third person command. Let him do something. It's supposed to be a nicer way of representing a desire or wish without giving a direct command, especially to a superior. You don't tell the Pharaoh, yo, Pharaoh, this is what you're going to do. You say, if it would please my Lord, then let him do such and such. Okay, that's the force behind Jussive. So let him not. Who's the him? Who's the subject?
Judah.
Blazing? Burning? Yeah, I wouldn't want to burn either. No, the subject is right here. Your anger, your nose. Please don't let your nose blaze. Don't be angry. Be avdecha. With or at your servant. Don't be angry at your servant. Why? Ki chamocha kafaro. You hold all the cards. You have all the power. There's nothing I can do. I'm pleading for my life. I'm begging for my life. Or actually, Benjamin's life. Ki chamocha kafaro. Like you, like Pharaoh. There's essentially an equal sign here. As you are, as Pharaoh is.
So, when in the Joseph, does that mean you're talking to the person that's with you as in the third person and also yourself? Or
The person saying the jussive verb is expressing his or her desire about what some third person ought to do. Now, yes, it could be that I'm speaking about the king in his presence, but I'm not going to speak directly to the king. I'm going to speak about the king. Let him write an edict rather than write an edict, bro. But here he's actually talking about third person, the nose, the anger. So the jussive here, it seems like the force of the jussive here is simply expressing the desire of the speaker. Please don't let your anger flare up against me. So how can we identify a jussive? There are several ways to do it. If you happen to see the word al, it would be a negative jussive, but it's still jussive. If you happen to see another keyword,
No.
na, exactly. Un aleph, which is sometimes translated as please. It's the particle of entreaty. If you happen to see these two words, you're looking at a jussive.
And
Any
I've
other
seen it
way?
together too. I've seen
Oh,
alna.
sure. Oh, sure. Absolutely. So any one of these would do it. But how else can we identify a jussive? I've actually given,
Would
huh?
would not can't not be used with and it be not adjusted?
Yes. The word na is used with can be used with all volitive forms, all forms that show will or volition. So whether it's second person, a command, whether it's third person, adjussive, or whether it's first person, let us do something, all three of those can have a na in front of it. But adjussive is necessarily third person. The only exception is negative commands are also jussive. So second person negative command, don't do that, you, is also adjussive. So you would have to look at the verb. If it has a you prefix, then it's second person. But if it has a he or she prefix, then it's jussive. Did I say that right? I think I said that right.
Yes.
Any other way to identify a jussive?
Isn't it the short form?
Good. I want to come to that part of the answer, but after I give another easier, actually I've already given it. Let me just say it. If a if a uh if we have an inferior speaking to a superior, then you can expect the verb to be jussive
Mm.
in general. But then your answer is the best. A shortened form of the verb indicates that it is jussive. What would I have expected of this verb if it weren't shortened? There should have been a vowel hey at the end, right? In the katal form, chara, he blazed. This vowel hey at the end indicates that it's a third root letter yod root. Chet resh yod, but the yod causes problems, often goes missing, like here. The point is that your shortened forms, which are also called apocryphated, your shortened forms are going to be missing vowel letters, mater lectionis letters, mkri'a letters. So instead of yod, chet, resh, hey, probably yechere, I guess. It would be either be yichre or yechere. Guess it could be yachere. Anyway, it would have an a at the end. The jussive form will be shortened. No vowel letter. That's all you get. Yod, chet, resh. So let's try another one. This one. Yevon. This is the shortened form. Yod is 3ms. The root is bet noon. Same thing, missing yod. All right, so the full form is yivne. What word is that? Anybody know the root bana?
Build.
To build. Right. So yivne, he will build. That's your yiktol 3ms form. And yevon is the shortened, apocryphated form. Yevon. And also in hefil, you can have this shortened form because in hefil you have a yod that acts like a vowel. Think of hishkim. Hishkim means
He woke.
To wake up in the morning early. Yeah, to wake up early in the morning. He arose early or something like that. The shortened form with the yod prefix would be yashkem. So yod is 3ms. The patach shows us that it's hifil. Where's the yod right here? It's gone. It was a vowel letter. It's now apocryphated. We're now looking at a jussive form. So instead of he will rise early, it should now be translated as let him rise early. Let me give one last example. And what verb is this?
Yashuv.
Yashuv. It has a vowel letter right here. So what if you happen to see this form, or perhaps,
Mhm.
this form, either Yashuv or Yashov. It's now missing a mater lectionis letter. It's shortened. It's apocryphated. It's now jussive. Instead of he will return, it's now let him return. Incidentally, these two forms are also the shortened forms you expect on a Vayyiktol, right? Va Yashov. Vayiktol's take the apocryphated form too. Okay, any questions on jussive? That was a bit of an advanced topic. All right, who would like to read next? I think it's a little it's a little itty bitty verse. Elizabeth, do you want to read?
Yes.
We have two Elizabeths.
Which
Actually,
one?
actually, if the other, oh man, we sometimes have three Elizabeths. Wow. Okay, so user Elizabeth, the
Okay,
Elizabeth
that's me.
named user. Go ahead and read this verse, please, and then I can give Elizabeth the second. It's funny. The next verse.
Adonai Sha'al et Avadav Lemor Hayesh Lekem Av O Ach.
Very good reading. Yeah, so Judah is still trying to help explain the situation here. Well, what it was Adoni Sha'al et Avadav Lemor Hayesh lachem av o ach. All right, so Adoni, he's referring again to my Lord in the third person rather than the second, referring to Joseph. My Lord Sha'al asked. This is a simple kal 3ms verb. What did he ask? Et answers the question. Et avadav. He asked his servants, referring to him and his brothers. Lemor, saying, so here's essentially the marker of an opening quote. When you see lemor, think open quote, direct speech. So this is now a quote of Joseph. Hayesh lachem av o ach? What is ha?
Question.
Good, but it's a specific kind of question. It's a yes or no question,
Mm.
right? It's a question word called the
Interrogative, hey?
interrogative hey, interrogative particle. But just remember, it always asks a yes or no question, a true or false yes or no. How do we represent that in English? Does he, something that requires yes or no is the answer. Hayesh, question, there exists, lachem, to you all. This is Hebrew's way of saying, do you have? Av o ach. Av o ach. Who is an av o ach? Well, it's written right there. Av is a father, ach is a brother. Kind of a weird question. Most people have an av. right? A lot of people
Unless
have
they
an off.
passed.
Yeah, right. The implication there would be that maybe he's passed or maybe he hasn't. So you can see it was a prying question. And let's see, where did I want to go with this? No, I think this is good. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say. Nope. Moving on. Okay. Questions? Good. Now, I see, Carrie, that you've been waiting patiently, but I've now promised the next slide to Elizabeth. Do you want her to read? Okay. Elizabeth, would you like to read? Elizabeth II?
Sure. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
All yours.
ונאמר אל אדוני, יש לנו אב זקן, וילד זקונים קטן, ואחיו מת, ויותר הוא לבדו לאמו, ואביו אהבו.
Nice reading. Only two little corrections. Can you read these two words again? I'll clear the screen. Sorry.
לבדו,
Yeah, levado. I didn't hear a schwa the first time. That's why I pointed it out. And this one,
אהבו.
ahevo. Good. First time, I think it was oo instead of o.
Mhm.
Let's see. All right. If anyone wants to follow along, I'll read through once more. Vanomer el Adoni yesh lanu av zaken v'yeled zekunim katan ve'achiv met vayivater hu levado le'imo ve'aviv ahevo. By the way, Elizabeth, I wanted to point out the way that you read ve'achiv was awesome. I could hear the chet that you were pronouncing. Really like it. Who is the subject of the first verb here? Vanomer.
We.
We.
Noon is the yictol prefix for we.
Nachnu.
Anachnu, exactly. So vanomer, and then we said El Adoni, to my Lord, referring to Joseph. Quote, Yesh lanu, we have, or there is to us, right? Av zaken, father that is old. V'yeled zekunim katan. All right, maybe you can see the root is in these two words is the same. Who is a yeled zekunim?
That's going to be Benjamin.
It's referring to Benjamin, absolutely, Benjamin. What form of a word is zikunim? Are there any other words you can think of that have the same pattern?
Petuchim.
What kind of a word is petuchim? Okay, what's the root
Are
of
they
petuchim?
adjectives?
Okay, so the root is patach, and Tuesday you said it's an adjective. I would say it's yes, it's a passive participle, which is adjective. So it's describing that something has happened to it, right? So if I'm talking about the gates that are petuchim, then I'm adjective describing them as somebody having opened them. The fact that it's passive, I don't know who opened them, but it was done to them. And participle usually shows us that it's either present tense or some sort of ongoing action, some sort of continuous action. So having been opened might be a good way to translate this. I mean, a literal way. Okay, so now in the word zikunim, we have the root zaken, which means to be old. So what is the passive participle zikunim? That's hard to really wrap your mind around, or at least my mind anyway. But it's being treated substantively like a noun, and it's a yeled and zikunim are creating a construct chain, a child of zikunim.
So that during his old age,
That's what it seems like.
this little child was born.
Right, exactly. So during someone's old agedness, this child was born. Yeah, something like that. Well, let's clean up the translation a little bit, and let's just call it a child of his old age. And how big is this child? Katan. Katan. What is he? A dwarf? What's going on here? Why is he called Katan?
Young.
Right. So Katan doesn't just mean small. It can also mean insignificant in the sense of the youngest one.
He's also considerably younger than these brothers, because Joseph and Benjamin were born so much later.
I did the math one time and now I can't remember. Does anybody remember how old Benjamin must be by now? I thought he was at least 30.
I think he was a young teen, like 12 or 13, maybe 14. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we might be able to do the math on it, but I thought he was older than that. But nevertheless, he is the youngest brother, and that's why he's being called Katan.
Is zikunim a participle, the passive participle?
As best as I can tell, yes.
And it's called?
Right. So the passive participle, oh, I see what you're asking. It is the kal passive participle zakun. So when it's in this form, this is going to drop down to shva and then add the im. Zakunim. As best as I can tell, yes, I think that's the correct answer. But I reserve the right to be incorrect. Happens every once in a while.
He's got to be older than that, Jared.
Yeah?
He's got to be. He's got to be.
Well, I mean, we could probably take certain ages in the Bible and calculate it, but yeah.
Yeah, he was, because he was born, and then they sold Joseph, and Joseph was in Egypt for a while before his brothers came.
Yeah, think about it. Joseph was 17 when he arrived. No, was he 17 when he arrived? And then,
Yes.
and then, and then he was 30 when he ascended to the throne. So that's what, 13 years right now.
Yeah.
So depending on how old Joseph was when Benjamin was born, here, let's ask, see if ChatGPT knows. How old was Benny when he stood before Pharaoh or Joseph? Joseph. The P on my keyboard is broken. Joseph. And I'll just put in parentheses Pharaoh. Oh. And give me some long-winded answer. Oh, okay. Well, yep, long answer. Okay, famine too. Okay. Joseph was 39 when his brothers came to Egypt the second time. Benjamin was born after Joseph was what?
That doesn't make sense.
That is absolutely not true.
That's wrong.
That is
Really?
absolutely wrong. Remember that
If he was born
way.
after Joseph went, then
Benjamin was born
had to have been
on the
pregnant.
way back from Padan Aram. Right?
They were on the way to Bethlehem. They're on that road to Bethlehem.
Right, exactly. So this doesn't look that's definitely an inaccurate statement, but based on its inaccurate facts, It has them at 27
what
to
if you
29.
asked it how old was Joseph when Benjamin was born?
It's a good question. That would help narrow it down. Great question. So
Yeah.
enthusiastic. Six more. Joseph was born towards the end of the 14 years. They spent 6 more years in Haran after Joseph's birth. Then they traveled. Did they spend 6 more years in Haran? I'm not trusting this. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask an expert. I'm not willing to trust it. Anyway, so he was probably at least 25 years old, somewhere around there. Anyway, now that we've talked about that unimportant detail, יש לנו אב זקן, קטנים, קטן, ואחיו מת. Ooh, this is a fun word to talk about. Okay, so not to insinuate that death is fun to talk about, just the form of this word. Could somebody please parse out this word met for me?
Isn't the root mem vav tav?
Good. So the root is mem vav tav. What's the binyan, person, gender, number? Person, gender, number. I mean, you can tell from the context what the person, gender, number is, right? Achiv, his brother. So it must be.
3MS.
3ms.
All right.
Call.
It is kal. Supposedly simple binyan, easy binyan, because kal means easy. Okay. I want to contrast this with another root. Shin, vav, bet. It has a vav in the middle. It's kal, and the 3ms form is shav. What? Why is this shav and this is met? Shouldn't it be mat?
Is it because of stative?
Yes, ma'am. You know you're right. Stative. Okay, so let's shift our minds away from irregular roots that have a vav in the middle that are hollow and look at some other stative verb. Give me an example. How about this one? This is a stative verb, karev. Oh, look, there's a tzere. It is also kal binyan. It is also 3ms, but instead of being something like shamar, which is what we would expect, it's karev. Instead of it's a'eh. That right there is what tells us it's a state of being verb. What is a state of being verb? I am hungry. I am tired. I am lacking. Okay.
It's not an action.
Exactly. It's a state of being. Exactly. So Hebrew has lots of these, and most of them will have a tzere in them. So what happened is the root mem vav tav should have been this. Same as karev, mawet. If it sounds like I have a lisp, that's funny. Mawet is what turns into met. So this is pretty much the only hollow verb that will take a, ooh, is it the only one? Let's just say it's the only one that will take a tzere because it's state of being.
Hmm.
Is there another
And
kind of state of being verb? Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say this is katal, right?
Kal katal. Yeah, I didn't mention that, did I? The form, all of the forms are katal, completed tense. All right. Is this a state of being verb?
Is the root Yod Kaf Lamed?
Bingo. Yod Kaf Lamed. Instead of being instead of being this one is o.
Oh,
And we see this in words like, well, here it's an adjective, but if it were in its verbal form, it would be katon. Same pattern. There's also another one. What is it? Yagor, I think. And one other is Yakosh, I believe. I mean, very rarely do you get to see this form, but it shows up a few times with an O vowel. There is a hollow verb with an O state of being vowel.
quick question. Is Yah whole? Is that able?
Mhm.
He is able?
He was able.
He was able, sir. Was able.
Exactly. There is a hollow verb that takes an O stative vowel. And it's the only one that exists in Hebrew that I know of, and it is from the root bosh,
Shame.
to be ashamed, state of being. Okay, so now that we've taken a little trip around state of being memory lane, any questions on this before we move on to the other stuff?
Jared, I have a quick question.
Okay,
It's about the word debt.
okay.
Is it also the same as this other word, moot?
Sort of. Okay, same root, but the word moot is either going to be an infinitive or an imperative.
Dayenu.
Right. So this moot form is also what you will attach yiktol prefixes to, like yamut, he will die, tamut, she will die, etc. But by itself,
Okay.
it's either an infinitive, to die, or it's an imperative.
Die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas met, well, even the word met can have two possibilities. We talked about how it's a 3ms katal, kal katal, but there's another possibility. It could be a participle, masculine participle, also kal. So dying would be met as well, much like karev could be either one. He was close or he is being close.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, participles, do they have gender number? Person?
Not person,
That
only.
word?
So participles are technically adjectives. So they only have gender and number.
Okay, no person.
No person. Only verbs have person, or I guess pronouns and verbs have person. So like a pronominal suffix, that has person. A verb, that has person. But explicitly, nouns and adjectives don't. Only gender and number. And okay. Ve'achiv met, and his brother probably has died. That would make more sense. Vayyivater hu levado. What do we talk about first? Vayyivater. What form is the verb?
Vayyiktol.
Narrative past, consecutive action, vayiktol, and then who is the built-in subject with that yod?
He
He is. And then he did what?
left.
Kind of. Anybody know the root yod tav resh? Originally vav tav resh, but turned into yod tav resh. From this we get words like yeter or yitro. Does anybody know yitro?
Yeah, the Cohen of Midian.
Yeah, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So all of these are related. Anybody know what yeter? Ooh, or the word yoter.
Yoter.
More.
Yoter is more. Yeter is excess, something jutting out, something more than what you need.
More
So
than.
vayivater has that same root, but it has an hee-haw, telling you
Me
what
fall.
me fall. So it's kind of passive. And he was excessive. Huh? Well, he remains. He's left. His brother, meaning Benjamin, u levado. What's the root of the word levado?
Levad.
Nope.
Levat?
No.
Nope, that's a preposition.
Yes.
Bet dalit dalit.
Bet dalet dalet. Good. So earlier when we saw af and there was a missing noon, and I told you about with a missing reduplicated consonant, here's another example of a second and third root letter dalet. Badad. What do you think the verb lehit boded means? Hit boded,
To be lonely.
right? Hit at the beginning of a verb is something you do to yourself or with somebody else. And badad means to be alone. So hit
Alone by himself.
yeah, one making himself alone.
Taking
The hit
himself.
boded. Very good. Le imo. Ooh, what's the root of imo?
Im.
Im.
I guess. What are you going to do with it?
Aleph mem mem.
Mhm.
Aleph Mem.
So you're starting to catch on that the second and third consonants being the same happens way more often than something else. Now that I've said that, what's the root of the number shisha? Usually it's shesh, but I'm writing it as shisha, meaning six. I'm writing it this way to show you that it has a dagesh. What's the root? Sheen, 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 obviously. No, no. There's something missing. Now
Oh,
I'm baiting you to say sheen, noon, sheen. But you're
Yo.
not going to say that.
mhm.
Yo
Shin,
doesn't
shin,
usually
yo.
leave. No, Yo doesn't usually leave a dagesh. I mean, in certain cases it does, but usually not. It'll affect vowels, but not leave a dagesh.
So it's Shin Shin Noon?
Thus.
No, it's
No.
something completely off the wall.
We're guessing, but I'm gonna guess thought.
Shedge,
Where did that come from?
dalit, sheen, dalit, sheen. That's the root of the number shesh. Why did it assimilate into the sheen? Easy, because apparently the da and the sh, the original pronunciation of a sheen, were the same. Well, theoretically, the sheen could have been a sh sound, or it could have been a th sound, like a sheen. Either way, it's pronounced as a let's see, it's either this or I don't even know how to represent that. It's it's written like this, but I don't know what to say. It's relatively close to the same place as a Dalit, so it assimilated. Yay. Anyway, fun trivia. Moving on. Aviv ahevo. Why is there a tzere? Okay,
Stated.
apparently it was originally a stative. Ahev, he is in the state of loving. Well, wait a second. How can it take a suffix? If it's state of being, that means it's intransitive and can't take a suffix. I don't know. I'm not sure. In the end, it turned into a regular verb, ahav. But initially, we see a tzere there. Maybe it used to be stative. And then maybe the Israelites started using it differently. I have no way of knowing. But it sure looks like a state of tzere. Okay. Any questions on this before we move on to the next reader? Jesse, you've been waiting so patiently. Do you want? Oh, Carrie's got her hand up. Jesse, you want to wait?
Okay.
All right. Carrie's like, it's okay. Jesse will read 6 or 7 verses while everyone else watches. Go ahead, Carrie.
Vatomer el avadecha chori duhu elai ve'asima einai alav.
Wait, is that a chirik?
Eini.
So it's kind of funny, right? Because einai means my eyes. What does eini mean? What's the difference between the suffix ai and the suffix e?
One is plural and one is singular.
Generally speaking, yeah, this is the one that's usually attached to a plural noun, and this is the one generally attached to a singular noun. So einai should be my eyes, but here it's eini, just one. I just want to put one eye on him. Keep an eye on him, as it were in English, right? Keep an eye on. Okay. By the way, excellent reading. Vatomeo el avadecha, and you, second person because of the tav, you said el avadav to your plural servants. That yod is the yod of the plural. Horiduhu elai. The hu on the end is a suffix, and the first part is an imperative. Horidu. We'll talk about that in a second. Elai, unto me. Oh, look, there's an I. That means it's plural, right?
No.
No. Look, prepositions can't be plural. So why is it taking IE instead of an E? There is a poetic form of the word el, which is eli. Chances are this is the original root of the word. I can't prove it, but I can compare it to the preposition al, which also has a poetic form, ale, and is definitely the root of the verb ala, to ascend or go up. So because al, which is also known as ale, is related to Allah, it makes me think that the word el probably has the same backstory. Because of the extra yod of the root, that's what's causing it to look like a plural suffix rather than a singular suffix. It's not plural. It's just an extra yod stuck in there. So on my cheat sheet, I talk about those suffixes that have an extra yod versus the ones that don't, rather than calling them plural versus singular. I feel like it's a better description. Ve'asima, and I would like to put a knee, my eye, I love on him. All right, so the hey over here is affecting my translation a little bit. What is this hey doing at the end of this verb? If we had asim, that alone would be I shall seem, place, or set. What is the hey changing?
It's cohortative, right?
Right. It's one of those volatives showing the desire of the speaker. And that's why the translator here included the word may, that I may set, that I might set my eye on him, that I could, or that I want to do it. Yeah. So it's called cohortative, showing the desire of the speaker. I wish to set my eye upon him. And Pharaoh's wish is our command, apparently. Well, in that context. All right, question. Oh, right. So I was supposed to go back to this right here. Did someone have a question?
Yeah,
So,
what do they call that hay? A cohortative hay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Cohortative. Hey. Cohortative. Somebody else had a question?
so cohortative means what?
Um,
They had the desire. Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly. So there are, I mentioned earlier, I'll say it again, there are three volative verbs that show the will of the speaker. The first person would be let me or let us do something, and that's the cohortative. So we could have very well put a noon inside of here, and it would then be translated as let us do something. It would still be cohortative.
So
Second,
this is basically asking permission.
ooh, I would say shows the desire of the speaker because like this is Pharaoh speaking. He's not going to ask permission, but it just lets everybody know what his will or desire is.
I missed where it transitioned from speaker to speaker.
Oh, okay. Um, Not a problem. You, O Pharaoh, said, Horiduhu elai va'asima. So all of this is Joseph's words up to here. So this is, remember, this is Judah recounting everything that happened. I did this, I said this, you did that, you said this, blah, blah, blah. So this is the you said part. You said, bring him down to me that I may, because I want to, set my eye on him. Otherwise, you are all spies and you're going to die in my dungeon. Ugh. Okay, so, oh, sorry, I was in the middle of, there it was. First person showing the desire of the speaker. First person, let me do something is cohortative. Second person, you do something is called
Imperative.
right.
Imperative.
Right, exactly. Imperative. And that's the one we're most familiar with, or the command form. And then there's that third person that we mentioned earlier that takes the short form.
Joseph.
Digestive.
Right, jussive, which says, I desire that, or the speaker desires that he do something. Very good. So those are all the volative forms. Right. So I wanted to come back to holy duhu. Let's parse it. What is the root? What is the form? What is the binyan? What is the person binyan? There we go. What is the person?
Yod Resh Dalet is the root.
Okay. Yod Resh Dalet. Originally Vav, but I digress.
It's who he feeler.
Very good. How did you know it was he feel?
Leholid is the infinitive, so there's the hey there in the front.
I thought there's supposed to be a patach here in the he feel.
I don't know, I'm not there yet.
Okay. So here's the thing. There is supposed to be a patach in the he feel, like we saw earlier with hashkem or yashkem. The problem is the vav. This would have originally been how, like a H, A, and then vav W, which in Hebrew turned into H-O. So hauriduhu turns into holiduhu. It's a dialectic change where the triphthong au becomes O. Holiduhu. So the patach is now missing because of the vav. All right, so who's the person, gender, number of this verb? If it's oh, we haven't even talked about the form. What form is it?
It's Kal.
You just said it's he feel. How could it be kal?
Oh, we're talking about, no, I'm mixed up between form and
Okay.
it's katal. It's a katal verb.
Okay. So
Yeah.
holy duhu could mean they brought him down. Correct. But in the context, it doesn't work, does it? You said we have a you.
I'll bring
What's the
him down. Okay.
Imperative. So we're taking the yiktol form, like yo, no, let's take the tav. Torid means you will bring down. And this tav at the front is you, but it's kind of hiding something. The tav has swallowed up the hey. It should have been te horid. This is the full original form, or actually it would have been te read, whatever, it doesn't matter. And the point is that, let's go ahead and put a ho right there. In order to make the imperative, you take the yiktol form and lop off the tav. There it is. Horid. Wait a second, there's an u at the end. So instead of torid, let's turn it into toridu. Who's the person gender number?
So MP.
It has to be 2MP. There's a
MP.
tav at the front, u at the end. You all lop off the tav, and that creates your imperative. Horidu. Good. Horidu is 2MP imperative. What's the who doing at the end?
That's the suffix.
That's
Masculine. 3ms.
referring to him, Benjamin. Hey, you guys, bring him down. Bring down, suffix, who, him. Bring him down. Eli to me. I think that was everything I wanted to mention here. Questions? All right. So now, if there are no other readers, Jesse sure has been waiting a long time. Go ahead, Jesse.
Vanomer el Adoni lo uchal hana'ar la'azov et aviv ve'azav et aviv vamet.
Very good. Be sure to put stress on the penultima here. Vanomer.
Vanomer.
Vanomer el Adoni lo uchal hana'ar la'azov et aviv ve'azav et aviv vamet. There's that vamet again. And he died. What? Wait, that doesn't fit the context. His father hasn't died yet. So it's not a katal verb. He died. What is it? Sure looks like a katal verb, except for that vav on the front.
It features
Is it Vekatal?
Vekatal.
Oh,
Add a vav, flip the tense. So instead of he died, it becomes he will or would or might
Would.
or could die.
or could.
Vekatal is incompleted. Some sort of incompleted action, usually future, but not necessarily. Often it will inherit its meaning from a previous verse, from a previous verb. Well, unfortunately, this also is a vekatal. So let's keep going back. La'azov, that's infinitive. Here we go. Yuchal. What's that?
The vamate.
Yeah.
Is that a kamatz under the vav? Should that be the shiva? No.
It should actually, well, no, it shouldn't. Okay. So the vav, we usually expect the vav to be a vav with a shva. I would argue that its original form was with a long vowel. Maybe there's someone out there that would disagree with me, but this is how I understand it. In most words, the vav is so far from the stress that it reduces to shva, much like a construct state noun does. But when it's right next door to the stress, then it often stays. Vamet, vakodesh, va'aretz. It shows up in a number of different places, but it's always right next to the stress. So if this stress were somebody else, were somewhere else, then what should the vav turn into next door to that mem?
If it was farther away from the stress, it'd be a shiva.
No, not next to a mem.
No. Not next to the
Exactly. Next to those bump letters it turns into an U. But unless the stress is right there, and then it turns into va. For example, there's also vamala in the Bible. Now I have to spell it. Vamala. Here we have a directional hey that doesn't take the stress. The stress is right here. Vamala, which means and upward. Why does it stay like this? Because it's next to the stress, I guess. All right, so this vekatal doesn't inherit its meaning from here. That's also a vekatal. It inherits it from here, yiktol. So he would not be able to go. Would he or would be that would that he leave, then he would die, or the father would die. Something like that. Incompleted. Uchal, that's that verb we were talking about earlier, yachol. And we didn't talk at all about the yiktol form of stative verbs, did we? Yay, let's talk about that more. Okay, there's shamar representing active verbs. There's karev representing state of being verbs that have a tzere. And there's yachol representing state of being verbs that have an o. What do they call that? Theme vowel. What is shamar in the yiktol? Nobody?
Yishmor.
Yishmor, of course. Yishmor, he will guard. Shamar, he guarded. Yishmor, he will guard. All right, now let's skip that one. What is karev in the yiktol?
Yikrav.
Mm-hmm. Instead of getting an O vowel like up here, we get an A vowel. Yikrav. That's an indication of being a state of being verb.
Ia.
Granted, there could also be a guttural in the way that causes the same thing, right? Like shama becomes yishma. Here, the guttural got in the way. But if there are no gutturals, and here resh does not act like one, we have a state of being verb. Okay, what is this going to be in the yiktol form?
Yuchal.
Yeah, it's written right there.
Oh.
So we're going to take original vav of the root, kaf, lamed, yuchal. So here's the state of being patach, just like yikrav. But the first part of it got messed up a little. Instead of being yuchal, it's now yuchal. The diphthong of the chirik and vav apparently created just a shuruk. Lo yuchal, he would not be able. Who? Hana'al, the boy. La'azov. What kind of word is this? La'azov. What form?
Infinitive.
Infinitive
Construct.
construct. Infinitive construct. To do something. There's a lamed on the front. There's a reduced vowel here. It is an infinitive construct. And there's an O right there. What would the infinitive absolute be?
Azor.
Azar.
Uh-oh. Azov.
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 Olam.
So the difference is having a full vowel here instead of a reduced vowel. Azov. And how would we translate Azov?
Surely.
Yeah, it basically emphasizes the verb. Leaving, he shall leave. It surely he shall leave. Good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Certainly. All right, who would like to read next?
I will if no one else wants to.
Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
ותאמר אל עבדיך אם לא ירד אחיכם הקטון
איתכם, לא תספון לראות פניי. תספון.
Try again.
תוסיפון.
Very good. Tosifun. I guess the stress is right there. Tosifun lirot panai. Let me read through once and then we'll talk about that word. Vatomer el avadecha im lo yered achichem hakaton itchem lo tosifun lirot panai. All right. Let's hash it. Let's hash it out. Parse it out.
להוסיף is the infinitive. It's to add or to
Yeah.
to be able to any more or
It's understandable why you're having trouble translating. It's not an easy translation into English. It is the same root as Joseph's name, though,
Yep.
isn't it?
add to add.
So to do again, to add, exactly, to repeat even. So it's from the root original Vav, but we'll call it Yod, Samech, Pei. Binyan.
להוסיף. הופעל. להוסיף.
Anyone want to help her out?
להוסיף.
I think it's a he feel. He feel.
Is it passive participle?
Man, we're getting quite the array of answers. What binyan is it? What form is it? What person, gender, number is it? And what is that noon doing at the end?
Exactly. Oh my
It's a
gosh.
he
Why?
feel. It's he feel.
Okay, so let's settle on he feel. How
That's
do you
a noonification. What do they call it?
Let's just call it paragogic noon. No, that's not true. No, it's probably
Energic?
no, it's definitely not energic. The energic only shows up if there's a suffix on a yiktol verb. This one, I believe, is called paragogic noon, but it seems to preserve maybe an older form of the yiktol suffix than what Hebrew preserves. I know this is Hebrew. Let me explain that. In Aramaic, there is always a noon. In Hebrew, the noon fell off most of the time. The only time it shows up is in older parts of the Bible, like the Torah, like Genesis. Later on in Second Temple period, you never see this noon on the end of a yiktol. It vanished. So it may just be a vestige of a more original yiktol suffix, meaning un instead of just u. So if we ignore the noon for a second, tav at the front, u at the end tells us person, gender, number
2MP.
2MP, you all.
UMP, and the
Yiktol.
form is pronounced Yictol.
Okay, good. So that makes it yiktol. Form yiktol. Good. So now my only lingering question is, how did you know it was he feel?
Does the he feel has a hirik under the first root letter
Second, actually.
or second root letter?
Yeah. So where's the first root letter?
It's disappeared.
It's disappeared. The vav of the root has disappeared. All we have is a cholam vowel instead. Instead of tau, it turned into to, and then the vav straight up vanished. Tosifu is the normal form. Tosifun has the paragogic noon. Good. So you all will add or do again, not lirot, to see, or see what? Panai, my face.
Panai, race.
Hey, remember we were just talking about participles that are state of being? Katon.
Katon.
Yay, there it is. Achichem, your brother, hakaton, the one being little. All right. Is it? It's not. Why isn't it working? Because I'm not pressing in the right place. There we go. Who would like to read this one? What are you guys getting toasted?
I'll read.
All right, go ahead, Tuesday.
Vayyehi ki ali, Vayyehi ki alinu el avdecha avi, vanaged lo, et divrei Adoni.
Excellent. Perfect. Vayhi ki alinu el avdecha avi vanaged lo et divrei Adoni. What form of the word is Vayhi?
Joseph.
It's
No.
apocryphated.
No,
Vayiktal.
Vayiktal.
Vayiktal. The Vav Patach gives
Vayital.
it away. Right. Vayhi, and it was that. Here it's giving us the content of what it was that came to pass. Here's the content of what happened. Alinu. What's the root of alinu?
Al
Aliyah.
Alan.
Ein, lamed, yod. The yod graced us with her presence. One of the rare forms of verbs where the yod, as being the third root letter, will actually appear. Granted, as a vowel, but at least it's there, right? Alinu, we went up, or we came up. El avdecha. Now, I want to know what this means to Pharaoh. We went up. See, usually in the Bible, just because you're going north or east or a certain direction doesn't necessarily mean up. Why do you suppose he's saying that he's going up to his father? In what way is he going up? See, most of the time when you're talking about going to Israel, you always see you're going up to Israel or you're going up to Jerusalem, even if you're going down on a map or down in elevation, like a spiritual lifting. I'm going up to Israel or up to Jerusalem. I don't think that's how he's using it, though. In what way is he going up to get his father?
The superior.
Ooh, now there you have to be careful. He's talking to Joseph, second in command over the whole world. I left this dump and went up to where my father is.
I don't think that's quite what he means.
So what does he mean?
So what I'm getting from it is
Okay.
still, my father is your servant. We see that later in the verse. But
Yeah.
we're still going up to one who is higher than us.
Is it
Not necessarily as high as you are, but one greater than us. We're going to our father.
Yeah,
But
okay.
our father is still your servant.
Now, while I hear you, Carrie, I want to point out a contradiction in terms here. One who is greater
Frozen.
than we, and one who is avdecha. I don't know. I guess it's not a contradiction in terms. I hear
is
what
it
you're saying.
geographic?
Okay, what if it is geographic? In what way?
Egypt is lower down on the earth than Israel.
Are you saying that Egypt is south of Israel?
Thank you. Yes, that's the word
South
I'm
of
grappling.
No, absolutely not.
No,
Because the cardinal
no.
direction in the ancient Near East was east, not north.
East.
So, like, for example, if you're facing east, Yamina
Canaan
is
wasn't.
called the south. Yamina, towards the right hand. In fact, Yemen is named after Yamina. Safon is to the left, or Smola is to the left. Where is Safon, Mount Safon? It's in Turkey.
Turkey.
So it's also called north, even though it's also called Smola. It's called Safon and Smola. So I don't think that's it.
So Canaan is not north of Egypt?
Of course it's north, but it's not the prime, like, to us, north is
not
the
up.
cardinal direction, right? If we situate a map, north is pointing up unless we're cuckoo. And so we would say, look, Germany is above Italy. Okay, but that's because we have a preconceived notion that north is the cardinal direction. I'm saying east is the cardinal direction in the ancient Near East. So I don't think that's a good answer. Any other possibilities? I think geographical is probably the answer here, but not because it's north of, but rather because Egypt is at sea level.
Right.
Yeah.
And Canaan, or at least where their dad is not sea level. It's higher up.
Mhm.
But the rabbis will tell you that spiritually they went to a higher plane to their father Jacob. Okay, that's cool. El avdecha, to your servant, that is Avi, our father. Vanagedlo. What? What's the Vav Petach Dagesh?
Vayikta.
Vayyigash.
Vayikto.
A vehicle.
Mm-hmm. What's the noon?
We.
We.
The
What's the
weed of
what's
an
the Patach?
oxen. Mm,
Did he feel?
Yeah, you bet.
you feel
He feel. And then there's a Segol. We would expect a Hirik Yod. Would we expect a Hirik Yod? Remember earlier we were talking about apocupation and shortening. So if we take the verb nagid, which by the way, the root is nun gimel dalit, but the nun has assimilated inside the gimel. This nun is we, first person common plural. Okay, so we would expect nagid to shorten to naged, as in va naged. But
But
now,
the makef.
but now that the stress is over here because the makef makes it one word out of two, it loses stress. That means this has to reduce.
Mm.
So it becomes segol. It's a shortened form. Vanaged. And we told lo, to him, that is you. No, we told him, our father. Et, what did we answer? Direct object marker. Divrei Adoni, the words of my Lord. Why the word him is here? I don't know. That's not right. Et, direct object marker. The words of my Lord.
The him just needs to be moved under the low to him.
There we go. Excellent. To him, et, the words of my Lord. Ah, okay. Does anyone have a
Question.
brain that is full?
Question, Jared.
Go ahead.
So in the first line, El Avi instead of Avinu.
Well, Avinu would be our father, but since this is Judah speaking, I guess this would be my father, referring to Judah's father.
Okay, because earlier it's Ki Alinu.
Yes,
We came up.
we came up, we traveled.
In English, we would keep them the same. We came up
Uh-huh.
to your servant, our father.
I agree. Yeah, our
But
father.
Hebrew being different.
I don't know why it's different. I don't know why this all of a sudden is Avi instead of Avinu. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. Thomas, do you have your hand up because you wanted to read or because you have a question?
Both. But the first question I have, the word alino, is that the same writing like the preposition al with the suffix nu, like we?
Probably.
Yes.
So Aleinu
Aleno, yes.
would be this way,
Yeah, yeah.
Aleinu, whereas
Ah,
Alinu has the chirik yod.
oh, yeah, okay. That's the
So
difference.
this
Okay,
would
thank you.
be upon us, whereas
Yes,
Alinu,
yes, yes.
we came up.
Aleno, yeah,
Aleinu.
yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you would like to read,
Yep. Okay.
no. little litty bitty verse, but it's all yours.
Okay. Okay. ויאמר אבינו שו- שובו שברו לנו מעט אוכל.
Okay. All right, so there you go, Carrie. Avinu. In one sentence, it's Avi, and next sentence, it's Avinu. Okay. Vayomer Avinu. So here's the quote. See if I can get my old man voice. Shuvu shivru lanu me'at ochel, or something like that. I don't know what he sounded like. Shuvu shivru lanu me'at ochel. Shuvu is an imperative. Where that ooh on the end says he's speaking to you all, boys.
Yeah.
Shivru is also an imperative. This is the verb. Okay, so what is the meaning of the verb shavar?
Break.
To break, yeah.
To break. To break.
Great.
Okay. So just so you know that we've got a couple of I don't have a clear answer for this, but there are two verbs shavar. One of them is to break, and the other one has to do with dealing in grain. If they are the same root, then we'd have to come up with a creative solution to figure out why those two are related. But do they have to be the same root? Not necessarily. With the sheen, we've got options. It could be a sh, it could be a th. Also with the bet being a bilabial, we have options. It could be a b, it could be a th, it could even be a m. So I don't know what it would be, but we do have options. It's two different roots. Shivru, deal in grain, lanu for us, ma'at ochel, a little of food. Now I want to look it up. It's got to be a. Tell you what, I'll look it up in the physical book. I'd like to share it on the screen, but I know this is faster. Shavar. This is Klein's etymological dictionary. Sha. Nope, too far. Sha. Oh, still too far. Here we go. Shavav. First definition: breaking or crushing. What? Oh, here we go. Shever is either something that is broken. In modern Hebrew, it's a fraction. Or shever is corn or grain, probably derived from Shin Bet Resh 1, to break, literally meaning broken or thrashed, like on a threshing floor. Probably also Shin Bet Resh 2 or Shin Bet Resh 2. Broken interpretation, but okay. So according to Mr. Klein, he thinks that it's all related in the idea of thrashing or threshing grain. Huh. All right. Cool to know.
Well, it makes sense because they're talking about food in the context of things. Does make sense.
Yeah. There are other places where the word now I want to look something else up. Okay, so biblical Hebrew, where is it? Pull up right here. This is the program I made just for biblical Hebrew. I'm going to look up everything related to Shin Bet Resh. Shin Bet Resh. And let's just find one per Strong's number. All right. Shover, to inspect or examine. Shavar, to break in pieces. Shever, something that's broken like a fracture. Shever, corn or grain. There you go. Okay, so there is no other verb having to do with grain. Okay. All right, well, what is shavar to inspect? I've never seen that before. Nehemiah 2, 13, and 15. Okay, well, I'm satisfied with that. I think it's about that time. I'm going to go have some dinner. I would suspect you all have somewhere to be as well. Thank you so much for coming and learning and to some degree enjoying. I look forward to seeing you all next time. Until then, lehitraot v'shalom.
להתראות, שלום.
Shalom.
Ciao.
Bakasha. Bye.
Bye.